Boker Tov, Bezrat Hashem, we are Avodah Zarah, Daf Mem Aleph Amud Bet, and we're going to be doing Mem Bet, Daf Mem Bet, Bezrat Hashem. So we are 2 lines from the bottom on Mem Aleph Amud Bet. Ve'en Safek Motzi Ve'idai V'Hadai. So the Gemara is continuing its thought from before, or its discussion from before. Can a Safek overrule the Vadai? Says the Gemara, Vehatanya Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Maaseh b'shifchato shen matzik echad. There was the servant of a certain metzik. Metzik is someone that he was very, he would bother a lot of people. He was an oppressor. Okay? Yeah, he would annoy people very much, but again, just to be annoying is not enough. It has to be someone with power. Okay? So, matzik echad berimon. Okay, in the place of rimon, she hitila nefel lebor. So she threw a nefel. She threw the how do you call it? Fetus, yeah. Okay, into a pit. Uva kohen veitzitz lida im zachar im nekeva. And a kohen came and leaned over to check into the pit if the fetus was a male or a female. For what purpose? To know how many days of tum'ah would apply to this maidservant. Okay? Uva ma'aseh lifnei chachamim, and the story came before chachamim, v'tiaruhu, and they allowed the kohen to be tahor. Why? Mipnei shechulda ubaldelas mitzuim sham. Now, we should normally understand that what? If there's a nefet over there, if there's a dead body, what happens? The tumah goes up. Right? So when the kohen leaned over, at that point he should have been tameh. Right? But over here, Chachamim said that he's mutar. Why is he mutar? Because there's probably rats or there's probably weasels in the place. So they probably took care of the dead body. Now, says the Gemara, wait a second. So it says, wait a second. The Gemara is saying, over here you have a safek mutzi midei vadai. Why? Because vadai the nefet was there, and now we're saying it's a safek. Now we're saying it's a safek. Maybe the chulda or the weasel, the rat or the weasel dragged it into their pits, into their dens. Safek and safek mutzi midei vadai. But here we see that it was. Says the Gemara, lo tema hitila nefel lebo. So the Gemara says you're right. Don't say that she actually threw a dead body. It looked like a body. Okay? And he didn't know if it was a zachar or nekeva, meaning he didn't even know if it was sorry, says the Gemara, says the Gemara, but wait a second, it said that he bent over, the Kohen bent over to find out if it was a zachar or nekeva, so it looks like it was an efen. Says the Gemara, hachi kama. Lida im ruach hipila im nefel hitila. So no, we change it from zachar to nekeva, of zachar nekeva. The Kohen bent over to look if it's zachar nekeva, to what? To find out if it was ruach, if it was just stam, an empty sack, or it was actually a baby inside the sack. Okay. Ve'im timtza lomar nefel hitila, and even if you're going to say that there was a nefel, there actually was a dead body in there. Lida im zachar im nekeva. It was to find out that if there was a zachar or nekeva inside of there. V'ibaitema, says the Gemara, an alternate answer. Kevan shechulda ubadelas mitzuim sham vadai geruhu. Says the Gemara, you can also make this case into a vadai and vadai. That what? But vadai, she put the nefin in there. Okay, that's one vadai. But there's also another vadai, because since the baldelas, the weasels and the rats are mitzuim sham, they're always found over there. It's vadai that they dragged it away. So in that case, it's going to be vadai, and that's why we said that it's going to be, the kohen is going to be taho. Okay, says the Gemara, we're now focusing on the parts of the Mishnah about if he found a broken pieces of Avodah Zarah, if they're going to be okay or not. Okay, now, ATV, Rabbi Yochanan is asking Rabbi Shimon on Resh Lakish. Matzah Matzah tavnit yad tavnit regel. If the person found the form of a foot or a hand, we found we saw in the Mishnah that it's going to be asur. Why? Because there are similar things that are worshipped. Amai hashvarim ninhu. But wait a second, these things are broken, so why should they be considered avodah zarah? Hatil gemash Shmuel biomdin ma besisan. So answers the Gemara, no, because Shmuel already explained that they're standing on a pedestal. That's why there's more reason to be choshesh that it should be asur. Eitive, ask Rabbi Yochanan another question. Oved kochavim mevatel avodat kochavim shelo v'shel chavero. The avodat if a non-Jew comes along, he can remove any avodah zarah, whether it's his own avodah zarah or his friend's avodah zarah. Ve'Yisrael eno mevatel avodat kochavim shel oved kochavim. But a Jew cannot remove the oved kochavim of a non-Jew. Okay? Amai tiave ki avodat kochavim shnishbera me'elea. Says the Gemara, why not? Why can't you just consider it like the avodah zarah broke on its own, right? If the Jew breaks the avodat kochavim, okay, so maybe you said we said it's not good, but why not? Because the Jew broke it, so it's not considered like it's broken. Okay, fine, but consider it like it broke on its own, and then it should be mutar according to you, Reish Lakish. Answers the Gemara. Amar Abaye. Okay, Abaye says shepascha. Okay, that he only dented the avodah zarah. Says the Gemara, v'chi pascha may have it. And if he only dented it, what does that matter? Meaning it should still be asur. V'hatnan pascha afar pi shelo chasra batela. We already said that if the goy he bent it out of shape, even though there's not missing anything, it's still batel. So it says the Gemara, hani mini de pascha oved kochavim. That's only true if the non-Jew bent it out of shape. Aval pascha Israel lo batla. But if the Jew bent it out of shape, it's not considered to be mivater. He has to rather crack it. That's one answer. V'Rava amar, and Rava says leolam ki pascha Israel nami betela. Really, in reality, it should also be that if the Jew dents it, it should be okay. Ela gzera dilma magbala והדר מבטיל והווה עבודת כוכבים יד ישראל וכל עבודת כוכבים יד ישראל אינה בטלה לעולם. So he says no. Over here we're choshesh something else. What are we choshesh? We're choshesh that before the Jew broke it, what happened? He was koneh it, magba, he lifted it. He made a kinyan on it. And if the Jew made a kinyan on it, now it becomes the avodat kochavim of Israel. And avodat kochavim of Israel, even if he's going to break it, and even if it's going to break on its own, and even whatever it is, it's going to automatically be asur on all circumstances. So that's why if the Jew breaks it, we're afraid that he was koneh before, and now it's avodat kochavim of a Jew, and therefore that's why it's not going to be allowed. Okay, says the Gemara. Eitive. The Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan asks another question. Akum shevi avanim min malkolis. If a non-Jew brought stones from the malkolis, okay, malkolis was avodah zarah. That they would throw stones to this avodah zarah. V'chipa bahen drachim v'tartiot, and they paved with these stones streets and highways. Mutarot, it's going to be allowed. V'Yisrael shevi avanim min malkolis v'chipa bahem drachim v'tartiot asurot. But if a Jew brought these stones that were thrown for avodah zarah, and he tried to pave with them roads and highways, asurot, it's going to be asur. Says the Gemara, amai, why? Consider it like avodat kochavim that broke on its own. Says the Gemara, achanami kideraba. This is also going to be the answer like Rava, that we were afraid that the Jew was koneh these stones before, and now it's avodat kochavim of a Jew chaz v'shalom, and that's why it's going to be asur. Eitive. Ask Rabbi Yochanan another question. Oved kochavim sheshifa avodat kochavim netzeocho. If he was shaving, okay, like he was taking off wood chips from the avodat kochavim for his own for his own use, okay. It's for his own use. Vishifuya mutarin, and all the chips are going to be allowed. But if he was shaving it for the purpose of the avodah zarah, he asura ushvuya mutarin. Okay, the avodah zarah is going to still be asur, but the wood chips are going to be allowed. Meaning, he said, if he was if he was sanding, let's say, okay, the avodah zarah for his own purpose. He wanted the avodah zarah, he wanted the wood chips for whatever it is for his own purpose. In that case, he was mevatel the avodah zarah, and the wood chips itself are also going to be allowed. But if he was shaving, meaning he was sanding, he was cleaning the avodah zarah for the purpose of the avodah zarah to make it look nicer, and then so then the avodah zarah is still going to be avodah zarah, and the wood chips that are going to come from it are going to be mutarim. Why? Because they are broken pieces of avodah zarah. It's going to be allowed. V'Yisrael sheshiva avodat kocharim ben letzoko ben letzoka he v'shifuya asurim. So all that was by a goy. But if a Jew did it, no matter what situation he did it, both the avodah zarah and the wood shavings are going to be asur. Says the Gemara, Amai, considered to be like avodah zarah that broke on its own. Therefore, it should be allowed. Answers the Gemara, you're right, but we're over here. We're still choshesh for Rava that he was koneh avodah zarah, and then it's going to be avodat kochavim avi Yisrael. Eitive, ask Rabbi Yochanan another question. Rabbi Yossi Omer shochek v'zore laruach omatil layam. Okay, so he says that that you're able to grind avodah zarah. Okay, shochek, you're able to grind it down, and then you can throw it to the wind. Or matil hayam, or he throws it to the sea. Amrulo afhi nasa zeven. Wait a second, but if he's gonna grind up this avodah zarah, it's now gonna turn as fertilizer. Viktiv lo yidbak biyadecha me'uma min hacherem. You cannot use it whatsoever. Amai te'aveh ke'avodat kochavim shenishbara me'elea. So says the Gemara, wait a second. Why are you going to say it's asul? Consider it to be like avodat zarah that broke on its own. Again, the same question, right? Answer the Gemara. You're right, but okay, once again, we're giving the same answer that that we're choshesh the Rava that says that maybe he was koneh the avodah zarah before on his own. Eitive Rabbi Yossi ben Yesian Omer מצא צורות דרכון וראשו חתוך, אוקיי? ספק עבודת כוכבים חתכו, ספק ישראל חתכו, מותר. If he found the image of a dragon, okay, וראשו חתוך, and the head was cut off, ספק עבודת, and we're not sure if it was the Jew or a non-Jew that cut it off, it's going to be מותר, okay? ודאי ישראל chatacho, but if we're sure 100% that it was the Jew that cut it off, asul, it's going to be asul. Says the Gemara, Amai, consider it to be like avodah zarah that broke on its own. Hachanami kiderava, says the answers the Gemara, it's going to be also like Rava. Eitive, we're asking another question. Okay, Rabbi Yossi Omer, af lo yirakod bimot hagshamim mipnei she'anevaya noshchot alehen. If a person wants to plant underneath an Asherah tree, okay, it's going to be asul even in the times of rain, okay? Because there's leaves that fall from the avodah zarah tree, from the Asherah, and they're going to help the plants. Says the Gemara, consider the leaves that fall like the avodah zarah that was broken on its own. Shani hatam. Okay, so he says over here it's different. Why? Because the full tree is still standing. That's why even if like some of the leaves fell, we consider it to be part of the avodah zarah because the full avodah zarah, the tree is still standing. Says the Gemara, wait a second. Veha shifun dikar shifuyan. Sorry. דעיקר עבודת כוכבים קיימת וקטני לצורכה היא אסורה ושיפוין מותרים. But what about the previous case that we saw before, that if a person is sanding down the avodah zarah, what did we say? If he's doing it for the purpose of the avodah zarah, then the avodah zarah still remains asur, but the wood shavings become mutar, right? So why is this different than the Asherah tree for the leaves and the things that fall down? Huh? Yeah, but it's the concept of Asherah is that the tree itself is avodah zarah. Okay, so Rav Huna berei de Rav Yeshua amar lefi she'en avodat kochavim derech gedilata. He says, you know why the Asherah is different? Because the Asherah, this is how it grows. Meaning, part of the service of the Avodah Zarah understands that the leaves and the things are going to come off on their own. So they still give importance to this because this is the way the Asherah grows. This is the way the Avodah Zarah grows, as opposed to wood shavings where once it's wood, once it's whatever it is, that's it. The Avodah Zarah itself is finished. That's why over there it would be allowed. Okay. Now the Gemara asks the opposite way. Eitiv Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish now asks on Rabbi Yochanan. כאן שבראש האילן של הקדש לא נהנין ולא מועלין. בראשה של אשרה יתיז בקנה. Okay, wait a second. If a person has a bird's nest on top of the tree of Hekdesh, okay, you're not allowed to benefit from it. Why? Because it's Hekdesh. But if a person does benefit from it, it's not going to be considered me'ilah. Okay? On the other hand, if it's on the top of a Asherah tree, yatiz b'kaneh, he can knock it down and use the nest as firewood or whatever else it is. Okay? So he said, wait a second. What do we see? That this nest, this bird nest, it was on an Avodah Zarah tree. Right? So normally speaking, it should, according to you, at least Rabbi Yochanan, that says that even the broken pieces of Avodah Zarah are asul. So why should we be allowed to use the bird nest? Right? Yeah, but we see by Hekdesh that what? Exactly. So therefore, we see that it is considered part of the tree. By Hekdesh, we see that it's asul. If it was on the, so we said it's asul, it's asul le'enot, aval mutar be'meila. But there's no meila. So we see that even though it's growing on the tree, it's considered to be part of the tree because it's asul be'ana'ah. Whereas by the Avodah Zarah, we see that if you can knock it down and it's not a problem, you can use it. So you see that shvarim Avodah Zarah should be mutar. Okay. So he answers kasar kadaitach. Okay. We want to say kigon sheshavra mimena etzim vekinta bahem. We try to think that what the bird, when it made the nest, it broke off the branches from the tree itself and then made the nest from this thing. That's why it's going to be considered either Hekdesh or Avodah Zarah directly, and that's where the whole thing starts. Okay, V'katani yatiz b'kaneh, and yet we still see that you can knock it down and use it afterwards. So answers the Gemara, Hacha b'ma yaskinan, kigon de'aiti etzim me'alma v'kinta bahem. So Rabbi Yochanan is going to answer, no. You know why it's going to be allowed to use this from the Avodah Zarah? Because the bird brought the branches from somewhere else, so it has nothing to do with the Avodah Zarah. Okay, it was resting on the Avodah Zarah, so knock it down and use it afterwards. Dekanami. So says the Gemara, you can also see this from the Baita that what the katani gabe hekdesh lo nehenin velo mu'anin. There's no hana'ah, but there's also no me'ilah. If you're going to say they're brought from the trees, the branches from somewhere else, this is why you're going to say that there's no hana'ah, you're not allowed to benefit from it, but there's also no me'ilah. Why? Lo nehenin miderabanan. Chachamim were the ones that said it's asul. Velo mu'anin deoraita, and mideoraita there's no me'ilah because the branches came from somewhere else. Deha lo kedishi, because the branches themselves of the twigs, let's call them more accurately, of the nest, are not going to be as hekdesh. That's why it would be allowed. But if you're going to say that it broke the etzim from the tree itself and it made the nest, why shouldn't it be considered me'ilah? Ha-kadishi, it's the branches itself are going to be kadosh. Okay. So answers Rish Lakish, midi area hacha begidulin haba'in achar leachar miken askinan. So we're talking about that it grew after it became hekdesh. Okay, so after it became Hekdesh, meaning the tree was a certain size, let's say it was, for argument's sake, it was 5 meters tall. Okay, and then the tree grew to 6 meters. The bird, when it broke off the branches, it broke off the branches from the extra meter that grew. So now this extra meter that grew is not Hekdesh anymore. Okay, Vikasava en me'ilah bigidulin, and he holds that there's no me'ilah when some with the additional growth after it was already made hekdesh. Okay. Rabbi Abau Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Abau says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Mayatiz. What does it mean when it said that he can break it off of the tree? Yatiz be'efrochin. He's able to break it off for the efrochin, for the chicks. Okay. Meaning not the branches itself. The branches itself wouldn't be allowed. Okay, even now, even Rabbi Yochanan is agreeing that the branches itself. Sorry, he's saying that the branches wouldn't be allowed. But what would when we said that you can use it, we're talking about the chicks inside. Amar le Rabbi Yaakov le Rabbi Yirmiyah tachlifa esbera lach. I will explain it to you. Befrochin, that it's really talking about the chicks. Kan vekan mutarim, but in either case, by the hekdesh and by the asherah, it's going to be mutarim. Bebetzin kan v'kan asurim. But if it's only the eggs that are in the nest, in both cases of the asherah and the hekdesh, it's going to be asur. Amar Rabbi Ashi v'efruchin shetzichan iman kebetzim damu, and chicks that still need their mother are going to be considered like eggs. Okay. Mishnah, Hamotze Kerim. If a person finds utensils, Valehem Tzurat Chama Tzurat Levana Tzurat Darkon. If he finds on them images of a sun, of the moon, or of a dragon, Yolichem Liyam HaMelech, he has to throw them to Yam HaMelech, meaning Asur Be'hana'ah completely. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, She'al HaMechubadim Asurim, V'She'al HaMevuzin Mutarin. If it's on respectable plates, it's on respectable utensils, then it's going to be Asur. But if the utensils are garbage, the utensils aren't nice, then it's going to be Mutar. Okay? Gemara. Lememra, what does this show us? Because if we're talking about the sun, the moon, and the dragon, it shows that these are worshipped. Okay. Lo. But other shapes, other images, people don't worship. Right? The Mishnah only said three cases: sun, moon, and dragon. That means these are the ones that are people worship. The rest, no. He has the Gemara contradiction. Hashochet l'shem yamim, l'shem ne'arot, l'shem midbar, l'shum chama, l'shum levana, l'shum kochavim umazalot, l'shum Michael Sar hagadol, l'shum shul katan, hare elu zivchei metim. If a person does shechita for the rivers, for the oceans, for the desert, for the sun, for the moon, for all sorts of astral bodies, right? All sorts of planets or whatever it is, or constellations. The Shumi, if he's doing it for Michael Sali said the Malach Michael, if he's doing it for even a tiny worm, all these are considered zivchei metim. All these are considered avodah zarah. So we see that there's avodah zarah even with other things besides for sun, moon, and dragon. Okay. Amar Abaye answers, Miflach lakol dimishkachi. Okay. Palchi mitzar ufarchani. Hani trata chashiv tzayri lehu upalchi lehu. Okay. So in regards to avodah zarah, he says they do avodah zarah to anything, but to draw shapes, to draw images, they'll only draw for these three things. Meaning to say that we just saw if he does shchita, if he slaughters an animal for any of these things, the rivers, the seas, all those things, it's going to be asul. So we see that those things are considered avodah zarah. Says because to worship these things, then no problem, they worship it. But to draw it, they won't draw it. The only three things they will draw: sun, moon, and dragon. Okay. No, not disposables. Yeah, yeah. That's what. No, that's only the difference of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, that he said that there's a difference on what utensil was made. Okay, but the Mishnah didn't. The Tarakama didn't make that differentiation. He said if there is a sun, moon, or dragon on anything, it's going to be already asur. Okay, so he says, "Lemidi achrina lenoi be'alma avdi lehu." Okay, so for something else, for if it was another shape, they just do it for decoration. Menaket Rav Sheshet chumre matniyata. Rav Sheshet will collect all sorts of difficult mishnayot. Vitani, and he would teach them. So he says, Kol hamazalot mutarin. You can draw any of the constellations or planets or astral bodies. Okay, chutz mimazal chama ulvana. Okay, besides for the sun and the moon. V'chol ha'partzufim mutarin, and all the faces are okay to draw. Chutz mi partzuf adam, besides for the face of a human. V'chol hatzurot mutarot, and all the images are going to be allowed. Chutz mitzurat darkon, besides for the image of a dragon. Okay. Now the Gemara is going to start explaining. You're able to draw all of them besides all the constellations, besides for the sun and the moon. What are we talking about? If we're talking about that that he did it, he actually was he's making the drawing. Are you allowed to draw all the astral bodies, let's call them? Ve'aktiv lo ta'asun iti, lo ta'asun kidmut shimshayim shamshim lefanai b'marom. It says lo ta'asun iti, right? Parashat Va'etchanan, lo ta'asun iti lo'e kesef ve'lo'e chazav. So you the other things you're not allowed to, even those things you're not allowed to make. Ela pshita b'motzeh. So we're talking about that. No, he found them, and then we said that if he found them, that a non-Jew drew them, then it's going to be okay. Like we say, if a person finds utensils, that if he finds a sun, moon, or dragon, he throws them to Yam HaMelech. But it sounds like everything else that you find is going to be okay. Says the Gemara, but if you're talking about only motzeh, ema mitziata kol ema. So let's see. Mitziata kol hapartzufin mutarin chutz mipartzuf adam. Okay. Partzuf adam asur. So what? If you find the image of a person, it's going to be asur. Ve'atnan hamotze kelim ve'aleim tzurat chama, tzurat levana, tzurat drakon, yolichem liyam hamelach, tzurat drakon in, partzuf adam no. We see from the Mishnah that it says only if it's the image of a sun, moon, and a dragon, meaning it has the face of a dragon, but it doesn't say the face of a person, meaning if he finds the face of a person, it didn't say that it's going to be asur. Ela pshita be'oseh. So now it's talking about oseh, that he did it. V'chede Rav Huna bered Rav Yoshua, like Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yoshua. Says the Gemara, wait a second. If it's by doing, ema seifa, look at the seifa. Kol hatzurot mutarot chutz mitzurat darkon. All of them are going to be allowed besides for the image of a dragon. V'ibioseh tzurat drakon mi'asir. And if you're making it, it's asur to make to draw a dragon. Ve'aktiv lo ta'asun iti elohei kesef elohei zahav. You cannot make with me gold or silver images. Hani in. Gold or silver, yes, meaning that's going to be asur. Drakon lo, okay, and a dragon, no, meaning you're allowed to make a dragon. It says ela pshita b'motzeh, so it must be that he found it. Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue tomorrow. Amen ve'amen.